Did our video? Yeah, right on. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
My name is Kyle Cherek, and it is my pleasure to host yet another Madison College Chef Demo Series presented by Vollrath. To my right is Chef Yia Vang of Union Hmong Kitchen.
Yes.
In Minneapolis, Wisconsin.
Yes.
I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
I'm a Wisconsin boy.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah,
I'm one of you guys.
We also just had a really big meal. So we used to do these dinners, and we'd have chefs come in from around the country. Friends of mine I'd reach out to, and I'd say, please come to this great college, terrific culinary program, and you'll never believe the kitchen and the institution and the teaching ethos. And they would get here and they'd say, wow. And then we'd have this great demo for all of you, and we'd go out to a Madison restaurant, which makes sense because it's an amazing food town. But it would be a very late night. And then Savily, one of the, I think it was the head of the program, Paul Short, said, you know, we cook. Why don't we just do a dinner for the chefs right here? We all went, oh my God, that's brilliant. So we had a great meal right before. You will have a great meal with some samples. But before that, I want to get into your story and a little bit of your path. So you are the child of immigrants. American foreign policy, a refugee camp, and a small town in Wisconsin where you were probably the only Hmong people there.
Yeah, it was a really small town. It's called Port Edwards, Wisconsin, right by Wisconsin Rapids.
Sure.
Yeah.
You all have bumper stickers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a paper mill town. There's like 3 paper mills there, and there was like a chemical plant near there. So the air would get really stinky. And they literally had shirts in Walmart you can buy. It says, did somebody fart or are we in Port Edwards? And yeah, I mean, it was like a, podunk kind of. Yeah.
So very romantic upbringing. Yeah, right. Yeah, like, sure.
This is why my parents crossed the Mekong River. Yeah. This is America. This is freedom right here. Yeah. Fresh air.
But I came to know of you not because of your esteemed Port Edward background, but because the national press and the Minneapolis press, but more importantly, the national press have been beating a path to your door since you launched Union Hmong Kitchen in 2017.
Yep, around that time.
Yeah, and for your uncompromising cuisine, and that's fine because you can just be sturdy and stubborn and that kind of thing. But you're really delicious, uncompromising cuisine that you're cooking out. Well, first it was pop-ups. Now it's a trailer. So first we crawl, then we walk.
Yeah.
You're kind of walking with small wires around your legs. Yeah. Anyway, tell that story.
So we started out as a pop-up restaurant. So I was working in different restaurants, and these guys were incredible that I worked with. And eventually what happened after that was, health-wise, just life-work balance wasn't really working for me. So, I was like we came in back and more. I never wanted to be a cook.
Yeah.
I tried my whole life to get out of this whole thing. I tell people this, and I'm really honest.
So I was going to do a dramatic build-up to that, but
sorry.
Just shoot that deer right away and all right, let's go home, people.
My whole life was trying to get out of this, and and
your Hmongness.
Yeah, and everything, my identity and everything. I was just trying to I don't want any of this stuff. One of the things is, I was talking to a bunch of high schoolers, and I was telling them this. The analogy I use is this: for me and restaurant cooking, it's like that ex-girlfriend that you kept breaking up with, but then every summer you got back together. And then before you went back to school, you're like, hey, I don't know if it's gonna work. But then come Christmas break, you come home and you're like, hey, how are you doing? And then you check her status on Facebook once in a while. Well, that's me in restaurant world. Right? So I'd be done. I'm like, I'm so done. I'm never coming back. But then it's when I needed some cash, I'm like, yeah, I don't know what's going on, to pick up some hours. So I did that for 15 years, back and forth, and I never wanted to do this.
It's extremely unhealthy decade and a half, by the way.
It was really bad. It was really bad because I went to college at UW La Crosse, and I went to school for interpersonal communication. I minored in PR and marketing. So again, as far from the spectrum of doing this kind of stuff. And I told myself, when I get done, I'm gonna go. My mom's side of the family lived up in the Twin Cities, and I would go into Minneapolis, and remember we would drive through downtown. I look up at these tall buildings, right? The IDS building, all these tall buildings, and I would say to myself in high school, I'm I was high school and beginning of my college years. I would say to myself, one day I'm gonna work in one of those buildings. I'm never gonna be in a kitchen again. And slowly but surely, when I moved up there for again, my mom's side of the family lived there. So I moved up there for grad school. which was not a great idea. But the only jobs I could find was cooking jobs. So cooking job to me was like, it was like the plan like D, E, F, you know? It's like if all this didn't work, you can always find a job as a line cook somewhere. But I never wanted to do Hmong food, let alone Asian food, because like growing up, that was so hard because there was just a lot of this like these memories of, you know, being poked fun at when you're a kid and you brought out something that was different and it smelled different. But here's the thing, the kids that used to make fun of me for bringing all this food that smelled different and funky, they're the kids now, they're like, hey, have you tried out this fermented thing? And I'm like, oh, remember, you used to make fun of me for that. Now it's like cool and millennial, right?
You know what, you were a hipster.
Yeah, we were.
You were early hipster when everybody else had their Lunchables.
Well, when people talk to me about fermenting right now, and I'm like, yeah, we call that a Tuesday, you know, like that was every day, you know, and they're like, I would get people that were like, oh, have you had fish sauce before? And I'm like, please, child. So I definitely didn't want to do that, but like, I think as I get older, you know, I'm like 35 now, I've found out that the more you run from something, you're actually running back to it. So the more of feeling like ashamed of my identity, of like, I don't want to be doing this, I've actually ran so far that I've circled around and I ran to it. And I can't imagine doing anything else.
We talked about this before. Like, I grew up in a small town in Wisconsin. Always wanted to be from somewhere else. I wanted to live in a big city. I thought I should have been born and lived in an apartment in New York or San Francisco or someplace where they had art galleries and museums and things like that. And I grew up around this agrarian family. And long story short, I mean, you all know me because of a television show that I hosted for 11 years called Wisconsin Foodie. You know, on the second day of the shoot, I realized when the farmer steps away from the cow, I know exactly where to step. I'm also not, well, no, seriously, when he backs up after milking, I know where he's not going to go, so I'm out of his way. And I also know that I could milk that cow if I needed to. I could help him, and I ended up doing that. We didn't film it, but it was like, I ended up, you know, it's like, oh, damn it, this is who I am.
Yeah.
It's that feeling where you can't escape yourself.
Yeah.
So eventually you begin to make peace with it, and then the love affair starts, but like all love affairs, it's very slow.
Yeah.
It's a slow burn. There has to be respect on both sides that you're gaining. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That was it. And for me, I didn't. My mom would be like, "Oh, this would be so good." In high school, I remember it'd be so good if you like cooked at some like Asian place. And I'm like, "Mom, I don't ever want to." So even when I got into my cooking career, my first job was at an Italian restaurant, you know, and like it was like a Wisconsin Italian restaurant, if you know what I mean. On Fridays would be the fish fry and then the fish bake on Fridays, you know, all you can eat, you know. And I got that job. There are little kids in here. Please close your ears. I got that job because I kind of lied on my application. Like they're like, we're really looking for like. I guess if you're a big dude in the restaurant world, they always put you over the grill. I don't know why. So it's like the 700-degree grill, and they're
He's
like,
a large person. He can soak up the heat.
Yeah,
it's a better buffer.
So you're like sweating and everything, and they're like, and the manager said, "Hey, you know how to cook steaks, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, like I did, but like you know, like I cooked at home, but not professionally."
But you did,
yeah,
because of your dad's grilling acumen and your uncles and that sort of thing. Yeah, you didn't know what you knew.
Yeah, but I didn't know like restaurant cooking steak is different, you know. And so I was like, "Yeah, sure." And they're like,
"Did they have a little colored thing they stick in?" I love those.
No, he taught me the hand method.
Oh yeah.
I did the hand method.
Sure,
that was my first kind of, and I started.
Wait,
there.
do all of you know that? Because this will change your life.
Method.
Okay, so rare. Right?
Yeah, the palm, like the meatiest part of your palm, press down on that.
Yeah. Medium.
Yeah.
And I did that in reverse. Rare, medium, well.
Medium well.
Yeah.
So I do the finger thing.
You get even more.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you press the palm
I'll
here.
let the chef explain.
Well, you press the palm here. You go and you put your index finger and your your index finger and your pointer, your thumb together. It tightens up a little bit. So that's medium, medium rare, medium well. I don't know why you're eating this, you know. Once you get past the medium, it's like, go away now.
Carbon dating really is what that is. Yeah.
You like chewing leather?
Yeah.
But like literally, that was my first shift was this. He goes, hey, the lead line cook was like, hey, bro, you know how to do the palm thing? And I'm like, what? It's like the palm thing for the steak? And he quickly shows me and he goes, okay, you're up. And then it's like, chee, and tickets start printing. I'm like, oh my God, what is that? What is that? And literally that whole night, I'm like, oh my God, okay, where am I? You know, because when people order in steaks, I'm like, they come in all different cuts and everything, and you had all these different cuts. And so I started there, and I wasn't actually a good cook. I think I was just fast enough to keep up. And then also, I think all the chefs I worked with, they liked me because I just kept a clean life, I wasn't hungover, I wasn't high, I wasn't any of that stuff. So it's like they knew that, hey, the next day you would come.
And you had a work ethic.
Yeah.
You had a work ethic.
And I just kind of I started noticing, I'm like, wait, guys can show up late and still keep their jobs? I'm like, what? But I would just keep coming, and I just got, excited. I would just want to learn more. But I never wanted to do anything to do with Hmong food. I never wanted to do anything with, let alone Asian food. And so then after that, I worked at a place where it was a Tex-Mex barbecue place, so we get to work with fire and wood.
A natural progression.
Yeah. And then after that, I started cooking at more of the French restaurants and learning French techniques and getting a little soigné or bougie a little bit, and all the stuff you see on Chef's Table on Netflix, kind of like that. And
you can smear green things just as well as anybody else.
I don't know why I'm doing this, but it looks great on slow-mo on camera. Yeah. So.
Yeah. But you cooked for Gavin Kaysen, who is one of the best chefs in America, protege of Daniel Boulud, has got 3 restaurants now in Minneapolis. His hallmark restaurant, Spoon and Stable, where you cooked at, where I had dinner a number. Anyway, Gavin's a friend, and will be part of this series later on next year, but this year's series. But to work at Spoon and Stable is a hallmark of a million things, and you were at one of the toughest positions in the restaurant.
Yeah, so when I got there, I think the restaurant was like 6-7 months old, and I got there, and the guy who was training me in looks at me and goes, "Hey bro, you're like the 3rd dude that's on this station. Like the last 2 before you quit. Or went somewhere else." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" And so it was a hard station. Even today, like if you ask Gavin or any of the chef de cuisines, they're like, "Yeah, that's a killer station. Like that one, like you make it or break it. Like you see if you want to know how tough you are, that's like the station." And it was tough. But I kept telling myself, there was this mentality I had of like. Be better, be 1% better. So every day I just kept, I didn't go, hey, I'm going to be 100% great this day, but it's just like, pick one thing today that you're not good at, during the service, and be 1% better. And those 1% will keep adding up. So every day I just tell myself, be 1% better, be 1% better. And the next day it's like, okay, 1% better. I'm just going to work on one more thing. And that kind of kept me in rhythm. And that really, I should think like running a restaurant now, that really helped building that base of, then how do you teach the young ones? When you see young guys coming in, we had this young kid, he's 17 years old, right out of high school. He wanted to work with food, Hmong kid, right? And he's never had an experience, he's cooked at home. And I was like, yeah, dude, if you want to come sling it with us, come. And so he did this summer, he worked for us for the summer. The first day he was just frazzled, like he's just like, whatever. And
at Union Hmong Kitchen.
Yep. So we also, we did pop-ups, and now we have this food trailer at Sociable Cider Works, which is a brewery. And so they built out a food trailer, and then we work out of that, and we jokingly say, it's not a brick and mortar, it's a straw and mud place. It could come down any minute. Sometimes when the wind blows hard enough, that place is like, oh boy.
It's close.
Well, we have, if the wolf comes and blows hard, I'm like, oh. So anyways, Sai came in and he worked, and that summer, I think, he started out as a kid who's like doesn't know what's going on until like by the end of the summer he had this rhythm. Like if you ever watch guys who work in the kitchen really well,
it's gorgeous.
You have this like really small, like basically I say it's like a 3x3 space, like 3 foot by 3 foot space, and that if you work really well within that, like all your components are right there. You're moving like this. You're not all over, because when you get in those small space, there's this beautiful orchestrated rhythm and movement you see of people. And by the end of the summer, Sai was moving really smooth, and that's just always a sign of a great cook if they can move in that 3x3 space.
Yeah. So I'm going to pull out my glasses.
Yeah.
And I'm going to read something to all of you, but specifically to Yi. And so this is from his own website.
Time out. Can we say this? So when writing bios, I hate writing my own bio. It's very narcissistic. It's like, oh, I feel like da-da-da. So our marketing person wrote this. I haven't, I haven't read that yet.
Really?
When you read it to me earlier, I'm like, oh, really? You
I'm glad I could be of service.
This is my second time I've heard it.
Well, in a room full of people and being videotaped.
Yeah.
So blah, 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 refugee camp, United States, 5 years old. Yeah, whatever with that. Starting Union Hmong Kitchen and serves as a passionate, tireless, funny, and forgiving advocate for Hmong food as an expression of Hmong culture. And what hung me up was, okay, I get passionate, I get tireless, I get funny, forgiving advocate?
Yeah.
So explain that to me.
Yeah, so like I said, what was one of the things for me that was really my, you want to call it my come to Jesus moment or whatever, is the fact that as a kid, I would go to school, my mom would pack me these lunch, and she'll put in their sauce, she'll put in the fermented greens, whatever, stuff that we had, that it was her way of saying, I love you, take care of yourself. Like even today, I'm 35 years old, mom's in her 60s. When I come to their house, my mom actually doesn't say hi to me first. She always says, are you hungry? Like that's like, she doesn't say hi, she doesn't say, how are you doing, how's your day, or like how's work. She just literally says, are you hungry? Honey, there's food here, and I made this over here. Like that's how she greets me. Like one day I just thought about it, I'm like, she never really, like she doesn't say hi, and not in a bad way, you know what I'm saying? But she just says, are you hungry?
Well, that's how she says hello.
Yeah, and that is, ever since we were kids, and I see the way she also loves her grandkids, my niece and nephew, the same way. It's like, they will never go hungry, because like her thing is, I have to feed you. I don't want you to ever go hungry. I don't want you to feel miserable. And so my mom would pack this for lunch at school, and like kids are mean, right? At school, 7, 8 year olds, and so I would get made fun of a lot, and
And well, the amazing thing is that what you may be not realizing, this is 2 years out of a refugee camp in Thailand. So this is in a small Midwestern city where you don't look like anybody else.
Yeah.
Your food doesn't smell like anybody else. But your parents are literally rebuilding their lives in a place where they couldn't possibly perhaps be more foreign.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I would So I would be, that would just build inside of me this sense of embarrassment. I wasn't the kid who had friends over their house because my parents couldn't speak English, so I was very embarrassed about that. Now I was also the kid too that like I didn't invite kids over to my house because I didn't want to have to explain what the kind of food we were eating, right? So when I was a kid, all I wanted was Lunchables, bologna sandwiches, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, especially the Lunchables that were the pizza kind, where you squirt like I told myself as a kid, when I am growing up and I have my own money, I'm gonna buy a lot of those. And I didn't learn how to make Kraft's mac and cheese in a box. I didn't learn how to make that until like my senior year of college, because we never ate that, right? And so again, there was a sense of that, and there was also the sense of like, I just don't want to be Hmong. I don't want to have to explain to everybody. When you're a kid, people go, wait, what are you? You're like, I don't know, I'm Hmong. And they'll be like, well, are you from Thailand? And I'm like, oh, I would say I was born in Thailand. So they're like, oh, you're Thai? And I'm like, no. And then they're like, well, where are you? I'm like, I'm from there. It was this long question of like, I don't want to have to explain all this stuff. So
Yeah.
I was always really resentful of that. So that's why like the path I took was like, I want to stay away from all that. Again, like I said, you run so far from who you are that when you start running back, I come back to home from college, I come back home and I eat, and I find myself eating my mom's braised pork with mustard green dish. That was my jam. Like it rejuvenized my soul. Like in the Hmong culture, or I'm not sure if it's Hmong culture or if it's just the way my parents raised us, was this. Every time my mom and dad would make food for us, they would take the meat, like the primal meats, like the good cuts of meat, and they'll take that all off the bone. And they actually serve that to all the kids. They want to make sure that we get all the good cuts of meat. And then they actually eat they scrape the bone, they eat the scrap of the bone, they'll have the broth, and they'll just eat the vegetable. And it's a symbol of them saying is that we will sacrifice who we are, or we will sacrifice ourselves so that our next generation can keep going. And so here I am, a couple years ago, I was eating home I went to my parents' house and we were eating together. And I love eating like the neck bones, and I love eating I'm just like meat off the bone kind of guy. I just love that. And I went to the house and I was eating that, right? And my mom was like, honey, stop. Like she's like, I got the good, like they saved it for it. We're adults. And they still do that. So my mom
You never
gathers,
stop being a parent.
Yeah, so my mom gathers that, like the primal cuts, the good cuts of meat, the ones that, the tender cuts of meat. And she gave it to me, and I'm like, and I told my mom, this stuff doesn't resonate with me as much as eating off the bones here with you guys. And that's when this aha moment clicked in me, where I realized that I'm like, what rejuvenates my soul is the food of my mom and dad's table. What gets me going, what makes me, what speaks into me is their food. And it's more important that it's their legacy, right? It's them saying, and this is what I tell people, for me, it changes your life when you realize that someone gave up their life for you so that you can have life. Mm-hmm. So when my dad fought in the war, and my mom, the things she gone through the refugee camp, they gave up their life whoever they could have been, they gave up all of that, left all of that back in the home country, brought us to America. They both don't speak English, but they worked through high school. They worked us so that none of us, we went through high school, we all went to college. You know, some of us went to grad school. I didn't, sorry, mom and dad. But, and you really see that they gave up their life, and so that we can have life. And so that when that happens, it changes the way you love people, it changes the way you talk to people, it changes the way you care about people, and for me, it changed the way I cook. And my thing is pretty simple now. Again, you run so far that you run back to all I want to do is I want to proclaim their legacy through the food that we do.
So a great chef, and I'm happy to count him as a friend of mine, once said, a meal without a story is just food. And we were talking before that with Hmong cooking, and specifically with yours, it's not about a style, it's about a philosophy.
Yep.
So when did when did that click?
Yeah.
And when did you take cooking for Gavin at Spoon and Stable or what have you and saying, I'm going to start living my truth through my food.
Yeah.
You know, because that's truth through action. It's great. We can have all the romantic ideas about our past that we want.
Yeah.
So when was that pivot point?
So when I was working at Spoon, I left Spoon. I'll be honest, I was in a bad spot, like just physically, mental health wise, I was kind of broken. You know, physically, you know, I wasn't doing health well physically, and I was like, I don't know what to do. All I do is I know how to cook. That's all I do. And so this idea of a pop-up came up. And so when we started the pop-up, I just wanted to be like, I just want to do Hmong food, but it wasn't as in-depth because my mentality was, well, food brings people together. Food is the ultimate equalizer. It connects people. That's all we wanted to do. And
pop-ups were like a weird, like we were talking, they were sexy, but they were also unknown. Yeah. Like do we pop up? What does that mean?
Like how do we get invited?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know.
Are there calisthenics? I don't get it.
Yeah. So when we started that, it was kind of like once a month we did it. Our first one was greatly supported by the community. We was in the area where the restaurant we did it was a small dinky restaurant. It had 47 seats. And we did 220 covers from 5 to 10. So we just kept pumping through.
That's a pretty good turn.
Yeah, it is.
Normal restaurant would love that turn.
Yeah. Well, it was, and then we were cleaning up till 1 in the morning. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I don't know if I ever want to do this again. And we did, next month
that
we
was
did
a bad idea.
Yeah. Next month we did another one. And it wasn't until I started realizing that the menu that I wanted to do wasn't mine. It was everything that we were making represented my mom and dad. So for example, we have this dish called Khao Seng, which translates to rice noodle. It's the most easiest.
A little redundant on the starch there.
Yeah. So literally, what it is it's a vermicelli noodle dish. All I knew when I was a kid, when my mom pulled that vermicelli noodle packet out with that 12-ounce vermicelli noodle, that's like 89 cents at the Asian market. You knew that, oh man, she's cleaning out the fridge. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just whatever's left over gets thrown into that, you know? Yeah. Like today, with all the healthy people, they call it a noodle bowl. We just called it, dinner. I was a growing boy, right? I need my meat. And I'm also like, there's no meat too. So I was like, So we put this dish on our menu, right? It's like our vegetarian dish. I don't know why I do this, but you can add pork belly, whatever in there. But it was like our vegetarian dish, right? It is the #1 dish that we sell. And I tell my mom, Mom, I kind of took your dish and we sell it. And she laughs.
Sure.
She's like, why would anybody want to buy that? I'm like, Mom, we are in the gluten-free world?
Right.
Trust me. This is gold.
And the truth about cuisine, and we just can't wrap our heads around it and really be honest, but the most simple, delicious, yummy, crummy peasant food is the thing that we all want. Yeah. And that actually, if you look back through history, that's just what keeps getting passed forward, and we keep building around. And it turns out...
And this dish represented more... It's just not a dish that we get great margins in, you know? At the end of the day, I'm a businessman too, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna make some money, we'll pay some stuff. We get margins in that, but the thing is, that dish was this dish of, I knew that no matter how hard the struggles at home was, as kids we were growing up, I can honestly say as a kid growing up, I never felt like I was hungry or we didn't have enough. Because my mom and dad, they took all that from me. Do you know what I'm saying? They took all that stress. They made sure we were well fed. In our our home as a kid, well-fed meant we have a lot. Even though we could have been struggling, they protected us from that. And so when I make that dish, I think about that. honestly, even today, like when one of the guys makes that dish wrong, I get a little angry. I'm like, no, like you're not doing it right. Like you're not.
Because it's sacred.
Yeah, you're not rinsing the noodle right. No, like you gotta give it a little time for this. You can't just, mash it together. And it's one of the top selling dishes that we have that, it's hard to take off the menu, But that dish to me had so much more. So we always say, like, in our restaurant, we always say every dish has a narrative. You follow that narrative long enough and close enough, you get to the people behind the food. And once you're there, it's not really about food, it's actually about people. And that food is a catalyst into cultivating great relationships. And so we firmly believe that. And I just think, like, even today, like as we go through the demo, I'll tell you the story of everything of why.
Is that where the name Union Hmong Kitchen comes from?
Yeah, you want to hear the sexy version or like the
I want to hear
honest
both
version?
of those versions, and I
Okay.
still want to get back to this pivot point.
Okay, so Union Hmong Kitchen came from, we started out as Union Kitchen, but there was another restaurant called Union something else. So then we're like, oh man, they have a lot of money. We don't, because we're working out of like my brother's garage. So we have to like put another name in there so that we don't get a cease and desist, because I don't know what this stuff is. So we just put we put the word Hmong in there because we wanted them to know that we're specifically
Pretty sure nobody else was Union Hmong Kitchen.
Yeah. We're like, oh, it's ours. So that's, I think the idea that food unites together. In the state of where we are with all these, like, especially up in the Twin Cities, with all this stuff with race, religion, sexual orientation, all that stuff, I was just so tired of it. And I'm like, if we really think about it, at the end of the day, we as humans, as people, we have this symbolically, but literally this core hunger inside of us.
Yes.
That what food does is when we sit at a table, you literally sit leveled with everyone. Mm-hmm. And you get to see each other's eyes, and on a soul-based level of handing food to each other, passing food to each other, that makes us all equal.
We were talking about this before. Food is, I think, the second most powerful force in the universe. And I say that completely sober and straight, that there's love, and then there's food. And I don't know what the third, fourth, fifth are, but I know that order at least. And sometimes they're synonymous.
Yeah.
But if we change the food system, we could heal the planet. When we feed people, we feed them more than just sustenance, though that's important too. And it is just that simple. Yeah. So we got the non-sexy version and the sexy version of the name.
Yeah.
And now, when was that pivot point where you were like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep doing this. And I'm going to call it, basically, this is a life change.
Yeah, I don't know. Every day I still drive past UPS and it has a big sign that says starting pay $20 an hour. I'm like, I can still do it. And then when there's like starting bonus sign up, and I'm like, oh, UPS. No, I think I had a conversation with a friend. I call her a friend, but she's like in her 60s. She's a little older than me, but she's an entrepreneur also. But she's a friend. I look at her as more of like a mom type, and she has a great business. And she showed me this like meme where it says and the meme was like the title of the meme was like the mentality of an entrepreneur, and it's like this graph, and it's like, I'm doing it, I'm so excited. Why am I doing this? Everyone loves me. I don't know what I'm doing, And it's like this meme of this graph where it's like this up and down graph. And she showed this to me, and I was looking at it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I looked at her, I'm like, you get me, like, yeah. Because every day I don't know, like one day I feel like I'm gonna pinch myself and wake up and be like, oh wow, this is, this is all.
I work at UPS. This was just a dream.
Yeah, but I had this moment actually when I was thinking through some of the questions you sent me, and I was driving, and I thought to myself, man, like, my college buddies and we always joked about. We always say #LTD, living the dream, and I always think I'm like, I am living the dream, like, and for me it was watching my mom and dad as they talk about the things that they went through. My dad, when he was 12, he joined the militia to help fight for the American cause in the hills of Laos.
This is amazing.
So he was at 12, right? So I don't know if you guys, some of you guys have kids that are 12. My mom would tell us stories about how these helicopters would come back to their village in these bodies of these boys that they would bring back, and that in their village, the parents would cry every time a mother would have a boy, because they knew that eventually he would go to war and he would die. And I hear these stories of my father, and just a little side story of my dad here is just in the Hmong culture, when you're a young boy, young man, and you walk into a room of all your elders, they usually stop you and they're like, son, what's your name, you know? But when they ask you what your name is, what you really do is then you say your name, your father's name, and his father's name. So it's like kind of like Game of Thrones-ish, you know, like, oh, I'm House Targaryen, da-da-da, you know, and all that stuff. So we had, as kids, we had to memorize that, you know? We had to memorize the little chant we do. And remember, we were at this party once, and there's all these elder guys sitting in the living room, and I walked by, and I was like, 12, 13 years old, and they're like, son, what's your name? And I said my name, and then I said my dad's name, and there was silence in the room, and there was a gentleman, an older gentleman, looked over and goes, your father saved us. He saved my life during the war. He's the reason why we're here today. And as a kid, you're like, yeah, okay, cool, can I go play now, As an adult, I look back and think about that moment where it's like, my dad is my hero. He was a warrior, but he left all of that to come here. And so when I started realizing that was my aha, and it changed the way I cook. And when I say, like, everything I do is for their legacy.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing, if we get accolades, we get anything, like, I'm talking about my mom and dad. I'm talking about, like, the reason why I can do this. They gave up their dreams. They gave up visions of having dreams so that I can cook.
And your mom is still sort of your like side chef de cuisine.
Yeah. Oh, hands down. You watch any of it. She's kind of like a media diva now. Like she's been on a lot of shows with us. So she like when the cameras come, she like wears her pearls. She does her hair, makeup. I'm like, you only do makeup. Like it was my sister's wedding when I saw you last wore makeup. That was like 15 years ago. Like what? And like, the camera comes. She's been around cameras so much. She now is like, oh yeah, I'll have this ready for the camera to take, and then I'll show this part. And I'm like, what are you, director now? So she loves it. Any of the shows you guys watch with us on it, half of it's just her telling me I'm not doing it right. But she says it in Hmong, so it's not as bad. So I'm like, I guess they don't know. But once they start doing captions, then all the rest knows. Like, I'm like, I'm not doing it right. But we sit down. She talks recipes with me. She asks, like, hey, I have this idea. Would you try it?
Yeah.
And her hot sauce is super famous up in the Twin Cities. We just call it Mama Vang's hot sauce. We have a little bit of it. We brought here every year. She makes 75 gallons of it for us. And so we through the year, we just have to siphon it off. And we couldn't think of a cool, sexy name for it because in the food industry, you need a cool, sexy name to be able to upcharge extra $5. So we couldn't find one, so we're just we're calling it Mama Vang's hot sauce, and now it's pretty kind of famous. Some of our chef friends who are pretty big name guys have had it, and they love it. They're like, man, one of our Jorge Guzman, a good friend of mine, big, James Beer guy, he ate it and he's like, dude, this is the best thing I've ever put in my mouth. And I told that to my mom, and I started to explain who Jose,
Right. How do you explain?
Yeah, so I'm like, hey, so he's like one of the best chefs in the United States. Just said that this is one of the best things he's had. My mom, this keeps me humble. She's like, that's nice.
Yeah.
Well, if he wants some honey, make sure he gets a bottle. I'm like, what? While others would take that glory, and then run with it. Yeah. She'd be like, oh, that's nice. Well, take out the garbage when you leave,
That same mentality kept her centered for 15 years.
Yeah.
15 years, a decade and a half in a refugee camp in Thailand.
Yeah.
That same mentality.
Yeah, it was. And it was.
So just indulge before we cook. Tell everybody this super cool story about your dad both mowing the lawn and taking apart the old rifle.
So my father, a lot of this comes back with him because my relationship with my father was really tough. I was a teenager, right? Everyone has those issues.
Well, and young boys and dads.
So
you test boundaries. It's part of our role.
I don't think I've ever publicly said this, but I had really bad grades, so they kicked me out of school, right? But I never told my parents about it because I was so ashamed. So I lived for a year and a half, and I changed the address so that all the mail would just come to my apartment in La Crosse. And so I just never told them, and they're always like, how's things going? I'm like, good. I didn't lie, right? But for a year and a half, I was out of school, and that's when I was cooking in restaurants and stuff like that. And I never told them that. And I remember I went home for one Christmas, and in that year and a half, I think I only visited my parents twice because I was just so ashamed. I could not let them know. And I knew that my dad could see it in my eyes. So I went back because at this point, they were living at Stevens Point. So I went back, and we were driving somewhere. We were going to Menards or something to get some stuff. And he just looked at me and he said, hey, Yia, I just want you to know that no matter what happens in life, no matter how old you are, no matter how old we are, your mom and I are your home. You can always come home. You can try, you can fail, but no matter what happens, this will always be your home because I am your father and you are my son. And there's no, and he said to me, there's no other reason. I didn't have to do all these great things. You're my son, I love you. You can always come home. And I think in that moment when he said that, I'm like, shoot, I think he knows something's up. But I never said anything, right? And so my father has been this great anchor to me. And so it was really interesting because when he fought in the war and stuff like that, like he told us like little stories here and there, but he never really told us, a lot of stuff. And it wasn't until we had a chance to work with a TV show from CNN, and the host guy came and sat down with my parents and interviewed them, and it was amazing, right? And they were telling these stories that I've never heard of, these war stories of my father and what he did, and the things he had to do during the war, and realizing that why when I mentioned his name in a room of honorable men, they knew who he was. Mm-hmm. And these stories of how my father wouldn't leave his men behind, while other men left their troops to go back to their home after the fall of Saigon and after the U.S. pulled out and the Americans pulled out and the Hmong people got genocide by the Northern Communist Party. Why my dad didn't leave his men, and he made sure that all his men was able to cross the border, and he went back for them and their families. Like, I heard all these stories. And then also, I also realized too, my mom started telling these stories for us to come to America. So we were in the refugee camp, and then we had to be sponsored. But to be sponsored, or to get to move up the tally, you had to fight. If you fought with the Americans in the army, you had to go through these tests to make sure that you actually did, because there were people that were like, oh yeah, we were in the army, just so that they can get bumped up the list, right? And so they said that what my dad did was they put him in a room with a caseworker, and he would show them all these maps of different battle areas, different, and then they would point, what was this called? What landing strip was here? Okay, what was this section called? And my mom said my dad was so smart and he was so intelligent that he could name them off. And then after that, they put a bunch of weapons in front of him, and he had to break them down and put them back together to make sure that he was, So what happened, if you guys know the story of the Hmong people, the CIA and the government actually came in and used them as paramilitary troops. So they were trained by CIA and special forces guys. So they had to learn how to do all that. And my dad would tell stories of them being blindfolded, and they would have to be able to put weapons together. And so fast forward this to about 5-6 years ago. My brother's in the military. He's an officer in the military, and he loves collecting old guns, right? So he has this old M4 rifle, which is like the gun that a lot of them used back during the Vietnam War time. And, it's a collector's gun, so there's no firing pin, so it's just whatever. It's a gun just to look at. So my brother was kind of breaking it down, and he was trying to figure out how one of the pieces went and how the bayonet worked. And he's just like, yeah. And my dad's like, let me see if I remember this. And like a Jason Bourne movie, he's just like, click. And he's like, click, 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 click. And I'm just like, what just happened? Right? So it was in that moment, I'm like, I don't know my father. And we're something changed. The moment his hand touched that gun, something changed. And he was able to break it down, put it together. And he's like, oh, I think that should work. And I walked away and I'm like, my dad can beat up all your dads. In that moment, it was this Jason Bourne moment. And I think that for me, I was it was one of those special moments you kept in your pocket. You're like, oh, this is good. This is really good. And so for me, these little stories of my father has really inspired me to be hey man, every time we get in front of people, every time we get in front of media, every time we get in front of people want to hear our story, it's not my story. I'm merely the voice to these two wonderful people who loved us so much that they're in their 60s and they're dorky grandparents, my dad still tells dorky jokes and he's outside working on the lawn and stuff like that. But there's this, my mom, this passionate, ferocious lover of us. And then my dad, this warrior, this old ancient warrior who's kind of has no more wars to fight. But then he's just happy that the kids are okay.
Right.
So that's their story.
Let's taste some of that story and hear some of that story through the food.
Awesome.
Yeah? All right, let's cook. There is, now I've done, I don't know what this is, maybe the 10th demo or something. There is more stuff out here.
Oh man.
Than I think we've ever had.
I was hoping not to have so much
No,
stuff.
you did, it's great. And before, while you were all maybe finishing your workday or what have you on the way here, we were talking about this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is new to Yia as well. But we were talking about how there's this wonderful food writer, B. Wilson, who's got this great book called Consider the Spoon, and how, the French will have 15, 18, 45 different knives for different things, right? The julienne, the matchstick, all this stuff. The Chinese, and we're talking for 3,000 years, have just had this. And they can do all the same stuff. They can even peel. My friend Yia does not have those skills.
No, not yet, not yet.
Nor do I.
Yeah, so you guys can go to any Asian market and get one of these cleavers. It's like $15, and these things are awesome. We've gone through a few of them. We've lost a few of them. I'm like, how do you lose a knife like that? I love my guys on the trailer. They work hard, but it's like sometimes they lose stuff. I'm like, how did you guys lose that? That's like, it's huge and clunky and it's a weapon. And then we look at our trailer's like 30 feet long, right? I'm like, there's like this 30-feet trailer. If it's not in here, where did it go? Yeah. But it's super nice. I tell people if you want to really learn to see, hey, do I have knife skills? Like grab a cleaver, YouTube it, and play with it. Super fun. So when we talk about Hmong food, I always say that Hmong food has. If you come into my mom's table and she's cooking for you, there's 4 elements on that dinner table.
I'm gonna come to this side.
Sorry. The first element, you got your rice, you got your protein, you got your broth or veggie. Sometimes that's one, and then you got your hot sauce. So
this is the salt, fat, acid, heat of Samin Nosrat, only by Yia Vang's mom.
Yeah. So that was the best way of explaining Hmong food to people. Because if you don't have all of that, my parents, they always jokingly say, it's not a dinner, it's a snack. So so when I was a kid, my white friends would have me over to their house, and they'll do like grilled cheese and tomato soup. I don't know why I did that, but anyways. And they'll be like, yeah, you want to eat for dinner? We want to stay for dinner? I'm like, sure. And then we ate like the grilled cheese and tomato soup, and I'm like, so when's dinner? And they're like, that was it. And I'm like, what? Like there's no meat, there's no rice. We had a sandwich, and then thick tomato liquid, and so.
Tomato liquid.
Sorry if that's your dinner. Anyways, sorry. So I remember we would sit there and I'd be like, what is going on? And I that was the one thing I just realized. I'm like, okay, well, we'll go with that. So now when we do dinner, or even like when my girlfriend and I, we cook together, she's like, I was thinking that we have some popcorn and some salad. And I'm like, and then the rest of dinner is what? And so now she's like, I need my rice, I need my meats, I'm like, good. So we're gonna do this rice. We're gonna do this sticky rice. And so what you do is you take sweet rice. You can buy them. You don't technically have to buy the Apple brand.
Flip that around so everyone can see the front, because it's a beautiful label.
Yeah, so it's the app.
Oh, you got both.
Yeah, there's the Apple brand, there's the Dragonfly, they call it the Three Ladies, it's called Three Ladies because there's 3 ladies on here. This one has an apple because it's called Apple. I don't know. I just say Southeast Asian marketing is not the best sometimes. So it's whatever animal or things in the front. So that you can. So you get some of that, and then it's a 1-to-6 ratio, so you get some black rice. Now, to sound cool and sexy, I always call it forbidden black rice, but it's black rice.
Yeah.
And so basically you get that, and then you soak them overnight. But I would recommend if you can get 3 hours of soaking, that's amazing. So you just soak it, and then you strain it out, and then this is what you get once you get done soaking it. And so to steam it, you can do like a regular steamer, or you can use these rice basket steamer. This literally is like $4. This thing is like $7. And that's where you just put that on, you crank the heat up. We go through every month we go through one of these baskets in the trailer because the guys wreck it up.
But you guys are steaming a lot of rice.
Yeah, we do a lot. And so when you put this in, it's not gonna touch the water. So people always ask, how far do I fill up the water? I'll just say until it doesn't, make sure it just doesn't touch the bottom of this. So this goes in here. So this would be your steamer. Here's the cool thing we learned. This can steam veggies. This could steam anything. Like if you want to make any kind of steamed veggies, you want to even do veggies, and you want to throw your a piece of halibut or cod on top. It can steam all that too.
Sure.
Because as a lid, all you really need is a bowl. So what we'll do is in this bowl.
So when do you know it's the right time to get rid of it though? When it's falling apart?
Oh, when it's falling apart.
Okay.
Yeah. It's when do you get rid of a dirty shirt? As a college kid, you're like, I got another year on this bad boy, kind of deal. Okay, so I just took the rice and I just took the black rice and the white rice. And when you soak them, you can soak them together, And we're just gonna mix it up real quick here.
And you can all see this in the screens, yeah?
Oh,
okay, great.
sorry.
No, we're good.
This
You're good.
place is fancy, guys. It's like when I came here, I felt like I was in a candy store. I'm like, I want to just touch everything. I was running through their kitchen.
We're
like,
very, very, very lucky to have a great culinary school like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, you don't really need the water boiling to do this. Like when you put it in there, the water will boil. You'll be fine. So you get it out of the way right away. So literally, you just throw it in, and that's it. And then what I'll do is I'll take the bowl, throw it on top. That's kind of like your cover to keep the steam in. Yeah. And then I'll show you the little trick. Like once it gets steam in, like 20 minutes in, 15, 20 minutes in, you want to take it out, and then you're gonna shake it, and then it'll kind of flip it around, and then you put it back for another 5 minutes, just so that top gets that steam.
Cool.
Pretty simple. Looks really cool for pictures if you want all those Instagram likes too, apparently. So we have that going. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get this tomato going for this tomato chili sauce. With this tomato chili sauce, literally, this is the thing that my mom, like when you get home from school and your mom's supposed to have like PB&J for you, this was our version of PB&J. It was sticky rice and then this tomato chili sauce,
Cool.
And so literally we'll just so that we can have move this a little quicker. Is this our oil? Oh no, that's fish sauce. There's the oil. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll throw a little oil on here. And you want to help me out, Kyle?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just want to halve these.
Sure.
I'll just put you right over here. You can half them. Sorry. And then just put it in here.
Okay.
Okay, we'll get that going. And then, so we'll just half these guys and throw it in there. If you want to make this at home, you can literally just put this on a sheet tray, throw it in the oven on the broiler. You can do that too. So completely up to how you want to do that. And so we're going to get that going. The next thing we are going to get going here is Okay, the next thing we're going to get going here is the broth. So if you could take, either use chicken broth, you can use pork broth, you can use whatever kind of broth you want. And we're going to get ready for the mustard green here. So just throw the broth in. Ooh. That's bad. Okay, and then to fortify that broth, what we'll do here, what we got here, man. By the way, I love the chefs here and the prep guys here because I feel very fancy with everything prep. Because every time we've done these before, where it's just like I have to do it myself, I just feel really. This feels really nice.
When I called you, I told you we were going to take good care of you. I told you we were going to pay you. I told you we were going to feed you.
Yeah.
Because, well, first of all, it's a first-class program here. When Chef Paul Short called me to do the series, he said, I want to do this right. I want to honor the chefs. And I said, yeah. I said, here's the criteria. And we totally agreed. Because there's so many demos like this that are happening tonight somewhere all over the country where it's like, hey, will you leave your restaurant, your income, travel here with a crappy per diem or no travel money, and then really not be compensated or embraced for what you're sharing, and it'd be cool if you could bring some of your own ingredients.
Yeah.
And I was like, none of that is going to happen.
So you want to hear something super funny?
For my friends.
So everything you said there was like, I always thought that was just the norm.
Yeah.
So I've always said yes to a lot of those.
Right.
Where it's like you literally come into like almost like a community center place and there's like a white, like Sam's Club table, like plastic table, and that's all it is. And there's like a burner that semi-works.
Yeah.
Like that's on top of it. And you're like, well, that's I'm like, okay, I guess. Yeah. So like to be here is like a totally like. Right
no, in the early days of the show, it's like, they're like, well, it's for PBS. I'm like, you're not an orphan.
Yeah.
Like, buy $50 worth of ingredients for me,
So we get sorry, it's gonna lather you a little bit here. So when you do this at home, if you want to take like a chicken bones, you want to take pork bones or whatever, you can do that just to speed the process up. We have some chicken broth here. Does that make sense? Just to speed up the process. Okay, so we have these tomatoes going.
Kitchen fairies that put the soap back here, by the way, wherever you are. Thank you very much. Little aside, last month's demo is handling chicken. There's no soap.
So one of the things is lemongrass, ginger, shallots, garlic. That's our mirepoix. That is we jokingly say that's our sofrito. right? So there's going to be some element of that in a lot of Hmong cooking. Lemongrass, you cut it, break it up, smell it. It actually smells like Fruit Loops. I know. I had a chef say that to me once, and I'm like, Fruit Loops. I'm gonna catch you guys all smelling this lemongrass up here. Like, Fruit Loops, puffing it. Okay, lemongrass, ginger, and then we're just gonna let this kind of boil. And once that boils, we'll take this mustard green. Now, when it's in season, if you guys work and go to any of the farmers market here, especially if you get some of the Hmong farmers here, ask for Hmong mustard green, right? It's kind of like a secret menu item. So you just ask, like, hey, do you guys have Hmong mustard green? And they'll be like, oh. And then they'll say, the ones with the flowers or no flowers, the tenders or the older, the ones for ferment. So you guys are all in the know now. So Hmong mustard greens it's so good. It's when I have Hmong mustard green with braised pork belly, and that fattiness of the pork belly, that little bite of the mustard green, the moment I eat that transforms me right back to my mom and dad's kitchen. That to me is the soul of Hmong food. Because it was simple. It was literally, they had a pot over a fire, and they put in bones, they put in aromatics, and they put in the mustard green, because there wasn't a lot of proteins, right? That's your vegetable. And that was your Hmong meal, and you ate that over rice. So those 4 elements I told you of Hmong food, that dish there, plus some rice and a little hot sauce, are all 4 of those elements. Okay, so we'll take the mustard green, we'll just cut them down a little bit. And then, once this kind of starts coming up, just gonna throw it in there. And then you let that wilt. Okay? And then, so what we're gonna do next here is we're gonna make the base for the hot sauce. You know what? No, we're not. We're gonna do something else. Where's the chicken?
Maybe in the refrigerator?
Chicken? The chicken up here?
I found chicken.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. There's also a frozen Snickers if you want to split it. No, I'm kidding.
Frozen Snicker works too. Okay, so what we did was, oh man, they're so cool. Man, I love you guys here. Madison, you guys are amazing. They already spatchcocked the chicken. So you guys know what spatchcocking is? So here, since turkey time is getting close, if you spatchcock is, there's that bone, like that backbone of the bird. Just take one side, shear off the other side, and then you split it open, and this is what you get. So spatchcocking, you can do that with turkey, and it cuts out like an hour and a half, 2 hours of roasting a turkey. Yeah, so you're just kind of making it flat.
But where do you put the stuff in?
I don't know. You figure out a way. So actually, I'm just going to do it. So here's the other thing about being a pop-up, being a mobile kitchen. We are really limited with space, right? So one of the things that we love having is an induction burner. So we have this pop-up series that we're doing in the winter. We're calling it a slurp shop, where we make 3 kinds of noodles, like noodle bowls. Where we can go into a butcher shop or any kind of shop and set up 3 of these guys, throw our pot on, and then get our
What
broth
kind
from.
of these guys are they?
Oh, Vollrath.
Vollrath. They're Vollrath.
Vollrath. Let's say Vollrath. So we could just set up a bunch of induction burners and throw our pot on top, and then just do a pop-up from there. I'm 35, but I feel like I have a body of a 60-year-old sometimes. So I got to work smarter, not harder. But when we had all these young guys working for us that are very ambitious with life, I make them carry a lot of things. So we were able to kind of get all this stuff and put it into our boxes, and then just have them carry it. And it's easy to carry in, carry out, clean up, just wipe it down. And then the control gauge on this is just amazing also. I gotta say,
I wasn't hip to induction as much, really not much, until I started working with Vollrath, and they gave us one of these, which was lovely. And we have a newborn, and I like to cook, as you might imagine. So does my wife. We have gas at home. So what you don't want to be doing, if you can, even though you've got a hood going, is holding your 7-month-old here and stirring here, right? Because there's basically gas fumes coming into this perfect little body and lungs. So we cook on the induction so much, and it is so freeing and healthy and fantastic. And the control that you have with this, I made a rice bowl for my wife and daughters this morning in 6 minutes. Because it was just boom, I could dial it right in. Anyway, that's my little pitch, but I love this thing. We take it camping. We take it camping. We'll go to a state park if there's an electric deal. I'll bring a extension cord, and I will have my induction burner not far from the campfire. And we will cook that way.
So what we did with the chicken is to get that extra crispy skin, take your chicken and spatchcock it, and then open it up, and then put it on a rack, and you put it in your fridge, leave it open in your fridge for a good 24 hours. It dries the skin out. So you get all that, like, you know, if sometimes like chicken gets very moist or they pump water in it, you get all of that out. And if you really, really want to like get that super, like almost like Peking duck, you know, crispy, leave it for 2 days. So we've done like 2 days of it, and it's super, super good.
How does it deal with, how does the meat come out then? Is it so?
Yeah, so once you put the brick on to press it down,
Yeah.
the meat actually gets, the texture of the meat changes. It's not like a soft chicken, it changes a little bit, but it just keeps everything in moist. So, and the reason why I like spatchcocking is on the bottom side of the chicken is all bones. So when you flip it to the bottom, you know, with the breast sticking up, it's just all bones. So all the meat is protected from the bottom through the bones. Does that make sense? Grilling whole chickens like this is amazing. So that's one of our dishes we call Hill Tribe Grilled Chicken, where basically we just take this whole chicken, salt it like that, let it dry out, and then just throw it on our wood fire grill. We have this Minnesota oak wood fire grill, and we just put it on top and then just let it sit. And it just let the wood do most of the work. And we've had people kind of dork out about it with us, and they're like, this is amazing. Like, you know, how did you do this? Or what's the secret?
What's your brine? All that.
Yeah, what's
kind
your
of
brine?
thing.
We're like, we don't have time to brine. We work out of a trailer, you know? Yeah.
Air, salt, and fire.
Yeah. So, okay, so what we'll do here is once you see it kind of going here.
What are you using? Canola oil?
Yep, just canola oil. And then you want to hear that sizzle. And literally, we're letting it sit. Take a brick, something heavy, wrap it in tin foil, and then you're just gonna, on the thickest part, which is like the breast height here, we're just gonna kind of put this down, let it sit on here, and then we'll just let this press, and then we'll turn it down a little bit to 65, and you let that sit for about 15, 20 minutes, flip it, have your oven at 400, put it in your oven for another like 10, 15 minutes, and you're pretty much done. It's just the simplest, yep. So by spatchcocking it, brick pressing it, what you're really getting is you're getting that fast cook, but since you dried the skin out, now what you have next here is this amazing crispy skin. Does that make sense? When we're thinking through this process of making Hmong food, my mom always says this. She says, Hmong food isn't like there's not a lot of ingredients. It's just it's easy, it's simple, but it's complex in flavors. And my mom always says that Hmong food is all about balance, right? So that's why you have your rice. That's why you have your proteins. That's why we have our broth. That's why we have our hot sauce. All of that brings balance, right?
So talk about some of the guff you've gotten from some of the elders.
Yeah.
Because you're not cooking, and I'll use your terminology, legit, your gestures, legit Hmong food.
So one of the things that we always get from a lot of the...
And we should say that Minneapolis has got probably the largest, or maybe one of the, second largest Hmong populations, density-wise, in the U.S.
So Minneapolis actually has the most dense Hmong population.
It does, okay.
So in the metro area, there's about 65,000 Hmong people in the metro area. So we jokingly always call it the Hmong capital of the United States too. So it's really big. We've gotten some grief for not being authentic. You know, that word authenticity it's an open and closed hand situation. I always say to people that we're authentic in the way that it's made by Hmong people from Hmong people. Like, you can't take that from us. You can't say that that's not authentic, you know? But if we're gonna be using like ingredients and stuff that they used in, you know, Laos and Thailand, we don't have access to that. But being Hmong means we'll be able to take whatever we have right here and now to keep our generation going, to keep the movement going forward. And so for me, sorry, I'm just got to peek at this real quick.
No, it smells good, man. Anyway, is there a special brick, like Cream City brick, red building brick? Is there
So
any-
organic, free
sure,
trade brick,
Sure,
using
right.
a conflict-free mortar. I don't know, what's all the trigger words these days? Okay.
Is it gluten-free?
Yeah,
Is the
it's
brick?
gluten-free, dairy-free, GMO,
Sure,
non-GMO brick.
non-GMO brick.
Locally sourced.
Sure. The aluminum foil is all messed up.
Oh
though. That's
yeah.
complete.
But if you don't want a little like brick stuff in there, you're gonna have to use the aluminum foil.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works too. If you take another pan, you throw another pan on top, but you just gotta find something heavy on top. We've done this where we just put like four pans on top too. So whatever. But yeah, so with Hmong food, we do get some people, some of the older generation that goes, hey, like this isn't Hmong food because da 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 da.
Right.
And we've always said that it's Hmong food because we're Hmong and we make it. And so, but it's also the Hmong way is taking what's around us and then being able to use that.
More than any other, and I'm not the expert here, but I'm going to go out on a limb. More than any other Southeast Asian culture that I know of, because the Hmong people have led a very, very nomadic, gypsy-esque life. They don't belong to a specific nation, place, that sort of thing, though they are their own culture, ethnicity, and have their own histories. So gypsy isn't quite, Jewish isn't quite, but it's like, it's got resonances of those. Yeah.
I think my dad has always said that our people have always felt like we just want to be left alone and be farmers. That's what our people have always wanted to be. But it's tough, like for me, like as I look through and I think through that process of, yes, that's what worked in the homeland.
Yeah.
That's what worked back in Laos, back in Western China. But now it's like we have these opportunities. Like, what are you going to do? One of my favorite movies is Saving Private Ryan. Remember at the end, spoiler alert if you guys haven't seen it, but at the end, close your ears if you haven't seen this one. It's been out for like 15 years, so I'm sorry. But at the end, when Tom Hanks' character is dying and Matt Damon's character is...
dude!
Yeah, sorry. And Bruce Willis was dead too the whole time in Sixth Sense. But anyways, and Matt Damon's character is there and he's whispering something to him and he leans down and Hank's character says,
Earn this.
Earn this.
Earn
this. And then it fast forwards to him Damon being an older gentleman. He looks at his wife and goes, did I live a good life? And it's in that moment where I think to myself, where I hear the voices of the forefathers and of the ancestors who have gone before me that said, earn this. Not like not in a debt way, but in a way of like knowing what we have sacrificed, And that's what I think about a lot. I think about like every time I represent our people, every time I represent our family, like earn this. There were men and women who gave up their life. Like I get to cook, dude. Like I get to cook and people get to be interested about the food that we eat. Like that.
Your dad was living in a refugee camp, scraping.
Yeah.
After having carried a gun.
Yeah.
For freedom, or however you want to put it. And you at 35 get to come to a culinary school in Madison.
Yep.
And talk about yummy food.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
By the time,
how are you not humbled by that?
By the time my dad was my age, he had 4 kids, brought them all to America, and fought a war.
Yeah.
And like, I get mad when my Wi-Fi's slow. Like, I'm like, where are they? My Facebook's not loading,
Yeah.
And there's these moments where I watch my dad sit quietly. He loves watching like the Nature Channel. And he'll sit there and watch like a bunch of monkeys literally running around. And he's just quiet. And in those quiet moments where I'm like, man, Dad, would you ever have thought, to see all your kids go through college, to see most of them, except for me, go through grad school, they have like 35 grandkids running around you. Like, would you ever have thought? Like, this was your life when you were in a foxhole at age 17, wondering, through the bombing and the mining, that would you get out alive? And so in these moments, I think to myself, earn this. Make the most of what we're able to have. So as we're talking about this, we're getting to the most important part, is the hot sauce, right? So what I love about this hot sauce is it's the most simple hot sauce ever.
What is unique? What's going on here?
Sorry.
Because this is like, I don't know. I mean, we have some Le Creuset. We certainly have some Nuku from Vollrath.
Oh,
we have
yeah.
a couple of cool things in our kitchen. We don't have one of those.
Yeah. So this is $12 at any Asian market from around here. You can get it's like $12. If you really want to like pay an extra $10, you can get the metal one that doesn't break. We have the metal ones because I love our boys, but we drop stuff all the time. So after buying like 3 of these in a row, I'm like, you know what? We're paying the extra $10 now. So it's pestle and mortar. Real simple, okay? This is where a lot of sauces, a lot of curries, this is where life starts. This sound was the sound of our dinner bell. Because when my mom was making hot sauce, you hear this sound being made, it means you got 10 minutes to get yourself cleaned up and sit at the table.
I got to take a food history geek moment, because that's really what I am as a culinary historian at the end of the day. That is the first original cooking vessel for humankind.
Yep.
The pestle and mortar. First we had it on an incline with a slight divot and it would be rolled. And then as bowls were able to be shaped essentially or found, the breaking down of things, the mashing down of things was the first creation or combining of flavors. You take that and a heat source for fire and you are cooking in the most primal way that humankind has been cooking for over 100,000 years.
Then again, sorry, just kind of, you see that crisp? That's kind of what we're looking for. Flip it, get that bottom going, and then we're just gonna throw this in the oven, and you're good to go. I mean, like dinner is served. If you want to do this at home, throw a bunch of potatoes, vegetables inside, you can totally do it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or aromatics around it.
Aromatics, yep, whatever you want, you're good to go. So it's a really cool, it's a great technique. It also a showstopper, you know, all your friends are all like, woo, and you can charge them an extra $5. So that's my thing.
Do you charge your friends when they come over?
Well, sometimes gotta pay bills, man. You know, my buddies come over. I'm like, dude, you think the gas just gets here by itself at the trailer? No. So pestle and mortar here, real simple. We got. We'll start with some Thai chilies and some garlic. I always get asked. You want to grab the salt for me, bro?
Yeah.
I always get asked, how much Thai chili do I put in there? And I say, you can always put more in, but you can't take more out. So start with whatever you want, right? And then just kind of go from there. Everyone always says too, how hot is it? I always say, you just gotta like bite it to figure it out. Because like chilies, some chilies, depending on the season, some chilies, some season will be a lot spicier than others.
Well, that's the thing. It's like they're not all made in the Twinkie factory.
Yep.
They're not identical. Mm-hmm. It's nature.
Yeah. So one of the things that I always talk about is the fact that with Thai chilies, the spice on the Thai chili is in the back, okay? Mm-hmm. So when you're eating it, you can eat all, like you can have this dish and you'll have the flavor. The flavor is like, and then slowly, like the crazy uncle, it comes and gets you right at the end there, where you didn't expect. And
like
he's
a
knocking
crazy
on
what?
Uncle, you know, he knocks on your door and he's like, hey, let me in. And you're just like, hey, Uncle John's here. And he's only supposed to be here once a year, but it's like, to drop by. That's kind of what the spice you get. Some of you are laughing because you guys know that uncle, or maybe you're that uncle. You really gets you on that back part, right? Jalapenos, when you eat it, it's like, it's right there in the front. Yeah. It slaps you. It's direct, you know. Like habaneros has that fruity, you know, flavor to it when you have that. So every peppers, they have different kinds of spice, you know. So not all peppers are created the same in spiciness, right? So we're just gonna throw some garlic in here. We'll start with some garlic. Again, these guys are amazing. They already chopped my garlic for me. Is this how Bobby Flay feels like all the time?
Yeah.
No. So what we'll do?
Pretty much.
Yeah. What we'll do, and then we'll do the Thai chilies right in there, and what we'll do here is then you're just gonna make a paste with it, okay? And this is what I tell people. I did this demo once in front of high school kids and it splat right in my eye. And I was like, oh man, don't cry in front of the kids. And I'm like, it's so cool, and everyone's laughing at me. So it was bad. I'm gonna take a little salt. The salt's gonna help mash it together. And you really wanna hear that sound, right? I do this technique now where I put my hand over it, learn real fast, and try not to look. I used to pound and then look, and I'm like, wait, if I stop, it's a lot safer. Okay, so you want to really mash it together. Now here's the deal. This is the base of a lot of curries, right? So if you want to make like a curry at home, especially like a northern Thai curry, you do this. You put a galanga, ginger, lemongrass, and then you just go at it. And that's like the base. And you know, kaffir for lime, that's the base. Okay. The most simple, like I'll give you a little like side note. The most simple hot sauce is garlic, Thai chilies, and then you just add a little bit of salt and a little bit of fish sauce. And in our culture, that's called it translates to is the daughter-in-law sauce, which means if you want to be a good daughter-in-law, at base, you need to know how to make that sauce. So that's kind of like the OGs always kind of, be like, oh, does she know how to do the daughter-in-law sauce? You know? Yeah. I guess we can't say that anymore, but But that like the grandmas still say that stuff, and it's like, oh, they don't know anything. No. Okay, so you get this. Is there a camera? Yeah. So you get this kind of paste, right? So if you want to take this, so if you stop at this,
turn it towards that camera.
This guy?
Right there we go. Yeah.
Sorry. You guys good?
Yeah.
You see? You lied.
I'm front of the house, dude. I'm front of the house.
Okay, so you get this kind of paste, okay? So if you want to take this, add some vinegar, like if you're making this, and you can stop right here, add some vinegar, some oil, and add a little bit of like oyster sauce in here, that becomes a marinade that you can throw over any kind of protein, right? Real simple, right? It just, so that's one of the, as we go, I'm gonna stop at every moment, and I'm gonna kind of show you that out of this sauce, you can do this. Out of this, you can do this, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like pick your own adventure book.
It definitely is. So like I said, Hmong food is simple. There's complexities in flavor, but it's simple. Like right there, you just made yourself basically a base for like a vinaigrette or something that you can, marinate. So cilantro, you throw in some cilantro, and then you're gonna work that cilantro down. Now, using a pestle and mortar, I've always found that if you just put a towel on, it doesn't make as much noise. But if you want to wake up, like if people are sleeping in your house, you want them to wake up, it's always a great excuse. Okay.
You're just cooking.
Yeah.
You're
not up yet. It's only 6 a.m. That's my
So the crazy thing about chilies, which we think Thai chilies, you think, well, Southeast Asian, Chinese cooking entirely, peppers, or chilies rather. Of course, you've got chilies, right? Mm-hmm. None of that existed in their cuisine until the Columbian Exchange, 1492 and just after. The chili came from South America. So what we think of as going back centuries, about 500 years old.
Yeah, I mean, just the globalization of food, it's like super cool to think about. And I always constantly think about that. I was cooking with a buddy of mine, Jose, who's, he's a Mexican cook. He's from Oaxaca area.
Yeah.
And as we talked about some of the food, like cumin, coriander, we just found like, we're actually using the same language, but we just use it differently. The sentence is different, but it's actually the same language,
Yeah, and that stuff came from Indonesia and those sorts of items.
So we're gonna put a pause in this because I'm gonna toss the rice. So great lesson I learned is it's steamed, so it's super hot. Because I usually be like, I can just use my hands. That's not.
But what happened when you used your hands to move a piece of charcoal, chef?
Yeah. So you know how like on the new Mac computers you can use your fingerprint to like do your password and everything. So yesterday I was like, whatever, I don't need a tongue to do this. So I started moving all these charcoal, but I didn't realize that one side of the charcoal was like already like ash. So and then like I burned the tip of my finger, but then I'm like, wait a minute, that's like my ID for everything. And I'm like, our QuickBook accounts, all our news, all our accounts. I'm like, I don't remember these passwords. I just like scan it, right? And I'm like, no! So tell my guys, if you guys don't get paid this week, I burned my finger. I got to regrow the fingerprint back. But it works if you just Jimmy rig it a little bit. Okay, so we got this guy. So that's what you get right there, right?
Steamed rice.
Yep, so it's sticky rice. It gets this purple color. It leaches. Oh. Where do you want me to go? Stage right or left? Okay. Okay, so you get this purple color in here. And what's really cool with it is that if you have kids or grandkids or nieces and nephews, they dork out because it's purple. That's the only story. The reason why we use the black rice is to get that purple color out of it.
The forbidden black rice?
Yeah, the forbidden black rice. Ancient secrets. But one of the reasons why we use it is like I like it because it's like wild rice. It has a little tooth to it, so it has a little bite. My mom doesn't really like that, but it's my show, Mom. No. So what you're trying to do is like the top part, there's still a little crispy on the top part, but the bottom is, so what you do is you toss it. You see what I'm doing there? But this is such a little amount, it's easy. So in some...
It really sticks together as
a
ball.
Does, yeah. So I'm trying to just flip it around.
Hence the name, sticky.
Yes. So, okay, so I got that, the top, I moved it to the bottom, and then we're just gonna put it back in here to keep it steaming a little bit. And so in some Laotian tradition, and I don't know if there's Hmong traditions like this too, but some Laotian tradition, young girls, when they're making rice, and they're flipping the rice like that, if they can do it right without having it all fall over, then your mom knows it's like it's a sign of womanhood. It's like, oh, so you're ready to date now, or you're ready to be courted, And a friend of mine, she was doing that, and I'm like, how old were you when you got it? She's like, shut up, you. It's like,
What if you're extremely coordinated at 7 or something?
I know, and
That's
then you're just
awkward.
like, oh, look at that, Mom, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna leave that in there. This guy's braising. It's getting to that color. Again, now we're moving back to the hot sauce. We have this hot sauce here. You see how it's dark like that? Again, here's the deal. At this section of hot sauce right here, this is what we call our tiger bite sauce, right? So this is one of the sauces that we use.
Which is a vulgar term.
Yeah, so okay.
Which is a vulgar term, by the way.
Yes. So here's the deal. When you're a kid, and if you're a kid here, you can close your ears. But anyways, when you're a kid growing up, the moment the other white kids found out that you can speak another language, especially boys, what's the first thing they ask you? Teach me a swear word in your language. I do not know how many adult males I've met today that are like, oh, you're Hmong? Dude, I grew up with a Hmong friend, and he taught me these words. And they're like, and I'm like, they taught, yeah, you learned all the curse words from them. So when we were kids, people always say, hey, teach me like how to say some bad words in Hmong, right? And you're a kid, you're like, okay. Well, our curse words don't really translate out that well. Like they have literal translation. So one of them, and I still can't say it today, like in Hmong, I can say it in English, it translates out to tiger bite. And it's like, it's a curse. It's funny, it's like, that makes no sense. But in our language, that's like one of the worst curse you can give somebody, or it's like, think of like the really bad words, like that's it, So we would always joke about like, and we would say in English to each other like, tiger bite, and our parents didn't speak English, so they didn't know, right? So like that's like my childhood. But anyways, we were thinking of a cool name. Again, in the food world, you need a cool, sexy name, right? So we thought of a cool name. We're like, hey, we'll call this like the tiger bite hot sauce. And then a lot of our English-speaking friends are all like, I get it, like it has a bite like a tiger, like it's spicy. And I'm like, yeah, that's why we named it. All the Hmong kids, they laugh because they're like, that's so cool. But anyways. So garlic, Thai chilies, like I can, even if I think of the actual Hmong word in my head, I feel like my mom can hear it right now. She's like, what did he say? I get like a phone call from her. I heard you. Literally it's garlic, Thai chilies, salt, cilantro, and then if we put in the fish sauce and the lime juice, that's it. That's your dipping sauce. It is basically it's like a chimichurri. It's like like a salsa verde. That's what it is basically. Okay. If we stop right here. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. You also, if you take this right here and again add some oil, add like a cup of oil, add half a cup of vinegar, and then add a little bit of honey. This also can become a vinaigrette, or it can also become a marinade. So it's going to have that deep herbaceousness from from the cilantro.
And you get the sugars and the salts going, so you break down the tissue. Yeah.
Again, you can go many routes from this. Does that make sense? Okay. So what we're going to do next here is then we're going to put in the tomatoes. Now, what we do at the restaurant is we actually smoke our tomatoes. We have a smoker, and we just throw the tomatoes in the smoker. I like that kind of smoke taste. And the thing that we serve this on is we grill whole striped bass. We get all over wood fire. And then when you get done with that, you make the sauce and we pour it right on top. So again, now as we're adding liquid in there, this is less of a smashing and more of a spinning, more of a stirring. You get, and then again, this is kind of like choose your own adventure. If you want this more smooth, you can put this in a Vitamix, in a blender. You can blend it all up. If you want it chunky, you can just leave it like this. I like texture, so I'm just gonna leave it chunky. We're gonna add fish sauce in there. Side note, you got Worcestershire sauce is a fish sauce. You guys know that? Worcestershire sauce is made
I didn't know that.
It's made from anchovies.
I thought it was made from Worcestershires.
No. So Worcestershire sauce is a bunch of dudes from England was in India, and they saw that they were taking anchovies and rotting them and fermenting them and making sauce out of it. So when they came back, what's that company, Lee and whatever? They went to those guys because they had I wanted to say there was some kind of like chemical, like they were making chemical plant stuff, and they gave them, they said, hey, could you do this? And they were trying to make fish sauce and screwed up and ended up with Worcestershire sauce. So if you've had Worcestershire sauce, you've had fish sauce. Does that make sense?
Huh.
Yeah. And then we had oyster sauce. So my mom doesn't use oyster sauce for this, but again, it's my show. So oyster sauce, it's like, to me, I tell people it's like almost like a molasses, like a umami molasses. And then lime juice.
Lime juice.
Yep, lime juice. And then again, stir it up. And that's it. You're pretty much done. Okay?
My wife, the happiest flavor, or excuse me, scent that she has in the world is fresh limes. And when she was in labor, I literally brought a bag of fresh limes. So that's, during the more difficult parts, she could just have that scent. We ended up having a C-section anyway, so.
So, here's...
Oh, yeah. That looks good.
Again, I talked to my buddy Jose, and we talk about this, and what we're saying, what I told him, I'm like, dude, basically it's like a salsa rojo, right? But it's got, the oyster sauce, the fish sauce, it's got this complexity in flavors, but it's simple, right?
And you're right, it's a slow, revealing heat, not even a heat, a warmth. That's a nice balance, chef.
So on this one, we have Mama Vang's hot sauce. So basically what they do, here's the deal. I love my mom and dad, but every year the price always goes up for this thing that we make them do. So every year they're like, oh, this is what's going to cost to make just for the material. And then every year it goes up. And I'm like, interesting. Inflation. Inflation is killing me here, Mom. So they go out at the end of the season, which is usually at the end of the summer, like September-ish, end of September-ish. They'll go buy out all the Thai chilies from all the Hmong farmers. They'll buy out all the Thai basil. They'll buy out all this aromatic, shallots, everything, right? And my dad has this big roaster where it's a big fire roaster, and then he fire roasts all the ingredients. And then he also has this like 3 horsepower like Cabela meat grinder. That's what it's made to like do a horse. But like he'll pump that all through in there. And then my mom has this mix. She makes this mix. They put it in 5-gallon buckets, and then they do about 70 gallons, 75 gallons.
Do they do their own bottling too?
No, they don't bottle. They just put it in buckets.
Just big buckets?
Yeah, big buckets. And then we just keep them, you can put it in the freezer, or what we do is we actually just keep it in the freezer, and then we just pull it out, and then we serve it over our fried chicken. So we do fried chicken, that we stumbled upon how to make the batter accidentally. and then we just throw this over fried chicken and sticky rice. And the thing is, once you get a piece of that crispy fried chicken.
This is Mama Vang's hot sauce?
Yeah, it's Mama Vang, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's smoky. It's a deeper, smokier flavor. You scramble eggs in the morning. You throw that in the top of scrambled egg. Steaks, any of those. So my mom.
That's very añejo. Woo.
Yeah. Again, this season is a lot spicier than last. Last season wasn't that spicy. Again, it's all about the spice.
It's super rich. I'm also having other experiences.
You're fine. So.
It's good, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I'm not just saying that because he is here.
No,
But wow.
So yeah, those are the hot sauces that we have up.
I think it's meant to go with things.
Definitely. So, like in the Midwest, I've learned is like people love their sauce, right? They'll like ketchup, like steak sauce. They'll douse their sauce.
Yeah.
So we've done these events where people will come and they'll like do spoonfuls of that over there, and then they get mad because they're like, well, it's so spicy. And I'm like, yeah, you're not supposed to do that. Like you're supposed to put a little bit on, And so we did a beer festival once, and the guy was super mad. He's like, this is so spicy. I'm like, bro, this is a beer festival. Like, you know what to do if it's too spicy. And he was just like, oh yeah. There's beer around here. I'm like, there's 100 beers around here, man. You can figure this one out. Okay, so this is ready. And what I'll do here
Look at how beautiful. God, that smells great, dude.
Yeah.
That smells like dessert.
Yeah, it's you can totally good. You guys ever had mango sticky rice?
Sure.
So basically that's what this is. Like they'll just use sticky rice like this, and they'll take the mango, cut up the ripe mango, put it on top, and wrap it in banana leaves and just steam it. Or you pour a little coconut milk on top of it too, and then you just steam it.
Yeah.
You've got mango sticky rice, right?
Yeah. Or breakfast on a Saturday.
Yeah.
When no one's watching.
So.
Yeah.
So it has this beautiful color, and we'll let it, when it's hot, it falls, but it has this beautiful, beautiful color on it. And then we have
I want to stick my head in there.
Yeah.
It smells so good.
So we have the braised mustard greens here.
Do you do anything with that liquid afterwards? Because it seems like it's just a flavor bomb.
So we'll put it in one of those little cups.
Okay.
So a lot of the old school, like when I say old school, like the grandmothers and grandfathers, Hmong people, when they eat, there's always a bowl of broth.
Yeah.
And everyone just kind of gets from it. And so it's almost like a lube to like get everything down. And so I just learned to really love that. So one of the things that we love doing is giving out these like free, like basically it would just be a bone broth with all these flavors, and we strain everything out. And so it's just
a shooter of broth.
Yeah, and when people come in, they can just sip it down.
Yeah.
We just call it our savory tea. So if you call it a tea, you can
Come
upcharge
in
no more.
being a relative term
Yeah.
since you've got basically a trailer.
Yeah.
So when they come into the parking lot.
Yeah, or they can sit there. We tell them that they can go sit in the
Oh yeah,
in the
in the
brewery.
brewery, yeah.
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 So we'll put that on the bottom, and we'll grab one of these, and then we'll.
Look at how beautiful that is already.
Yeah. And just get this. Oh.
And if you're getting a cold, this with
Yeah, and I mean this is.
chunks of ginger alone.
And
rock your world.
this literally is my, kind of my childhood, like just,
Yeah,
broth.
I'm sure your mom served it this way too, exactly on a big plate like that.
She was more like, it was just all in bowls and platters in the front. So one of the things that my father taught me is this idea. When we were kids, we would fight a lot. Brothers, we were just dumb and we'd fight. And my dad would always say, when you say this is mine, you actually have less. But when you say this is ours, you have more. And he always implored that into us. And and the way that people eat in some restaurants is like, this is my plate, this is my dish. And what we really try to break through that with the food we do is we actually say, well, this is ours. So when you come order food, it's actually for everyone. It's not really yours, it's everyone. And you actually have more when you say this is ours. So we just encourage people. So people are like, oh, what should I eat? And I'm like, just order the menu and just sit down and pick at it. And so that's kind of what we really encourage. I'm not sure the chicken's all done yet, but we can also fake
On
it.
the whole, yeah, I like to eat the way you just described, and typically we'll order more than, well, maybe a little gluttonous, we'll order 3 or 4 things for 2 people, if you want to try a lot of things.
Yeah.
And we'll share it. But after the James Beard Awards a bunch of years ago, when we were in New York, when they were still in New York, I think it was the 4th day, and we went to David Chang's place.
Yeah,
Momofuku originally, yep. And I ordered a cocktail and sticky buns.
Mm-hmm.
And someone asked if they could have a bite. We were out there with the crew. We'd filmed the show. And I freaked out and I broke down. Because I said, no. I don't want to talk about food. I don't want to share my food. I don't want to think about food. After 5 days of talking about food around the James Beard Awards, I just lost it. I'm like, I just want to eat my sticky bun by myself. Just want to sip my cocktail and eat my sticky bun. Look at that beautiful chicken.
Yeah.
I can't believe I made a roast chicken literally last night. What I call the North African roast chicken because I throw in a bunch of cumin and all kinds of things to the butter. That was so fast.
Yeah, I mean, again, if I feel like I'm on a TV show here, in 30 minutes we have made a meal. But literally, this is one of the funnest ways to do it. And again, if it's getting cold and you can't get outside to grill, just brick press this guy, and you can just feel that. That's like, and this is from like sitting out, letting it dry out in 24 hours. You don't have to do that, but it really helps with that skin.
And was it just air or a little bit of salt on top of it?
That's just a little salt. Yep. Yeah.
No, that's air and salt, or just air to dry it out.
Just air.
Just air.
Yeah, and if you really want, you can do salt too.
Yeah.
If you want to get all fancy, you can do like baking soda, and then like it dries it out really, and then but you have to wipe it off with vinegar.
Right.
That's too much work.
So then it foams.
I don't know. Yeah, our people, we're jungle Asians.
Okay.
so
Wow.
we
This is the big reveal, everyone. This is what you've come for.
I don't know.
This is what he's gonna do. Look at that.
That's not bad. So we'll probably go in a couple more minutes, but can we pretend? We pretend, right? Yeah.
We'll pretend.
Yeah.
The legs are good. The middle's gonna need a little bit of love.
But so basically, I usually just like cutting into big.
Gotta get me one of those toques.
The what?
One of those toques. That's what they're originally called in China.
Yeah.
One of those cleavers. I gotta get me one of those.
And then so we'll just kind of throw these on here.
Yeah.
And then, see, this is how you burn off your fingers. And then this is basically it. And again, like I said, you can easily serve dinner this way. It's a super easy way to do dinner. You got we got your rice, we got our vegetable in there, we got our protein, and then we got our hot sauce, and then we even have our broth. So it's super easy. If you're doing this at home, like probably an hour, you know? The longest thing is that, my problem was today was I should just started on the chicken. But, you know, if you get going on the chicken right away, you're about an hour, you get a whole dinner. You know, here I guess, like I say that every dish has a narrative, right? This is kind of the narrative. I love eating whole chicken like that because of one reason. When I was in high school, Friday nights, I played football. I love football. My parents, especially my dad, never could make it to the games because he was working late, right? Or if it was an away game or whatever. But every Friday night, around 10:30, whatever, when we get home from the game, there was always a fresh pot of rice, and there was one of those, like, you know, festival foods, like rotisserie chicken, you know what I'm talking about? It was a 3-pound one, always sitting on the counter. And no matter how good I did or how bad I did at the game, at the end of the day, like my father always said, you're my son and I love you. You didn't have to perform for me. You didn't have to do this. You always come home and there's always going to be food here for you. You're always going to be fed. It wasn't until I went off to college that my dad would say, it was either a chicken or one of those big like hoagies, you know what I'm talking about? You can buy it like $6. And my dad would always say, I kind of miss buying that stuff. You know, when I went off to college, he's like, I love just grabbing one of those. And I always knew that there was always food for me when I came home. And so all of this, everything we're doing, even now we're in the stages of building our own brick and mortar. We have a bunch of great things coming our way. If you go on our website, unionhmongkitchen.com, you can sign up for a newsletter. We'll tell everything. You know,
I signed up today.
Yeah, you'll hear everything about the brick and mortar that's coming through right now. All of this is the legacy of my mom and dad. Like, I wouldn't be here without them. And this is not some kind of cheesy like shtick or whatever. This is all I know. And so when these two people who have given up their life so that I can have life, there's the only way that I can say, I'm sorry for being a silly kid and being embarrassed. I'm sorry for, denying you guys, when I was younger. I'm sorry for running away. I feel like this is my, I'm sorry
It's your
anthem.
amends.
Yeah. And then also it is our way of, it was saying, hey, this is your legacy, mom and dad. Like, you guys people might not know about the things you've done, but this is it. I want to end with this last story. About 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago, my dad had a really bad work accident. He fell off he builds home, slipped off a roof ladder, cracked his head. He had brain injury. They put him out in Marshfield. He went to Marshfield Clinic. He was in the ICU in Marshfield for about a month, and he's sitting there. And I have all my siblings. They flew in from the other country. They all came to visit my dad. And I lived like 3 hours away, right? I couldn't make myself go. I kept having excuses. Oh, I gotta work. I gotta do this. So he was in ICU for like 3 days. Everybody was there, family. And I was like, I couldn't go. And I asked my mom, like, how bad is it? My mom's like, the doctors don't know. It's touch and go. He's all, I remember going to the hospital, and I'm always a little eerie of ICU areas. Like, it's just bad experience, right? So it's all the lights are off, and I go in my father's room, and he's sitting there. And my mom said, ask him if he knows your name, because they weren't sure about his memory. It was, it's head injury, it's brain trauma, it's a lot of stuff. I walk in and I look at my dad, and so here's this old warrior who's like laying in the bed, right? And he's all like tubed up. I've never seen my dad this vulnerable before, right? And he's got tubes everywhere, and he's got his head is bandaged up, and he's just laying there. And this is my hero, right? This is the guy who's indestructible. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at him. And I'm like, hey, Dad, do you know who I am? And he's all groggly, and he's like, I think so. I think you're my son. That's all he could say to me. And in that moment, it turned for me where it's like, this is not how a warrior's supposed to go. Like, slipping on a dumb ladder, right? Like, you're supposed to have a more, like, if he's having a death, it's supposed to be with an anthem, like, right? Where we could celebrate his life. Not because he slipped, not because of some dumb work accident. That changed the way I thought about, hey, I really want to get this restaurant built. I really want people to know who he is. So that was 2.5 years ago. It was been the thing that pushes me through. And when it gets cold, when it gets hot, when I get tired, when I don't feel like soaking stupid rice sometimes at night, when I don't feel like doing that, or washing dishes, I remember that man laying up on that bed. And it's like, that's not how warriors are supposed to go out. And so, I thank Kyle, thank Madison College for us to be able to come here and tell our story, my parents' story. for you to join us tonight. And yeah, I hope you guys
Thanks,
were
buddy.
entertained.